This is Let's Talk Teens, a parenting podcast sharing tips on raising amazing teenagers. We are both certified life coaches that have worked with teenagers as coaches, mentors, and teachers. We are sharing what we have found to work best when dealing with teens and tough issues. This is Let's Talk Teens, episode 27. Is your teen stuck in the comparison trap?
Oh, this is so easy to do, right? For all of us, but especially as teens, it's so easy. It's the survival of like, do I fit in, right? Do I belong? Am I going to get kicked out of the pack? Am I different than people? All the things, right? Am I as good as them? We just get so stuck in that comparison trap. So I just want to talk about 5 things today that we can do to help our teenagers out of that comparison trap. And I think the first one we need to do is help our teens learn to challenge those beliefs. Again, those just come so naturally. We talk about this all the time. I think it's Martha Beck. Don't quote me on this, her saying this, but I'm pretty sure it comes from her, where she said that when we say, is this really, really, really true? It's really good for our brain to be like, okay, is that really, really, really true? When we say, oh, I'm not as good as so and so, or I will never be as good of a gymnast as so and so, or I am just not good at math like so and so. And to ask ourselves that in that moment when we're challenging or when we're believing these things that might not be helpful is just to ask ourselves, is that really true? Is that really, really, really true? I don't know. Do you know, is that Martha Beck? Did I get that right?
I think so. We'll see. We'll see.
We'll
We're probably
see.
both wrong. Who knows?
Yeah, parents, let us know. But I know, I know that that is so useful to use that. Is that really, really true? And just challenge that because our brain is going to very quickly go again to that negative bias brain and look for where we fall short. And we get stuck in that. And then we continue the comparison trap.
I remember, Cheree, I was teaching when one round of the Olympics was going on. And I can't even tell you, like, one day one of my students was really discouraged, and I was like, "What's up? Like, you kind of seem down today." And they were like, "Oh, I just realized that, because I'm not a pro gymnast at, 15 years old, like my shot of the Olympics or even a scholarship at college is just down in down the drain." And I looked at it, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, do you know how much life you have ahead of you? Right? Like, and so when you're talking about this comparison trap, like, it is so real. And I feel like teens do not have this perspective of time on their side. And they'll look at somebody like an Olympic athlete. And yes, they've been doing this since they were 2, 3 years old. And yes, they're specially trained. But then they go, well, that's it for me. I'm never going to be able to do this as good as them because I didn't start as soon as they did, or because I don't have the right training, or, fill in the blank. And so I'm just always amazed, right? I'm always a little taken back that I'm like, wow, okay, we're going to compare ourselves to Simone. Oh, okay, like I don't know why you'd want to do that, but sure, here we go.
Yeah, I think it's so good just to be aware of that. I like that time, that perspective of time and just looking at it so far in the future. It's just not helpful. Okay, how about this one? This is the second one. Is change our verbiage instead of better? What if we change it to different? So I think we're always like, oh, this person's better than me, or Susie's better than me, or John's better than me, or, it's so easy to say that. But if we change our verbiage to they're different, they have different talents, different traits. I like to look at this one as like my arm and my leg. They have different jobs. I'm never going to compare my arm to my leg. I'm not going to say to my arm, why aren't you walking better? Right? Because that's not what my arm's job is. It's a different job than my leg. And my leg is really good at walking, and my arm is really good at carrying things. And they just have different skills and different gifts. And so when we can help our teen instead of that whole like, oh, they're better, say, oh, they're different. They have a different set of talents, a different set of skills, a different something different they add to the world. If we're just different, not better. So changing that verbiage. So catch your teens when they're like, oh, they're just better than me. No, they're different. They have different experiences and different things to add to the world, not better.
This might get a little bit of pushback from your teen because there's often things that your teen is put up against in school that feels the same. And it feels like, no, my singing was compared to her singing and hers was better, right? Or I was thinking when I was in high school, the drama of my life was that this boy that I way liked, he'd bounce between me and this other girl. He'd like her for a little bit, and then when she didn't want to like him, oh, he'd come date me, and then he'd dump me to go to her, like back and forth. And I just felt like we were so similar and pegged up as the same that it felt like, well, which one does he like better? Which one is better? Right. And so it can be hard for your teen to wrap their brain around when you're like, well, you two are just different. And, this boy, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, we're the same because we both like him or we both look the same or, things like that. And so your teen might give you a lot of pushback on that, and that's okay, right? It's okay to have them kind of argue with you, or not even argue, right? Because we don't, that's not a battle worth having. But just being that sounding board of when they want to be adamant about, no, mom, it's because they're more talented or they're a better singer or better dancer that I didn't make the team, that you're just like, you know what? I disagree with you, right? You guys are obviously different and you have different skill sets, but that's okay, right? And we don't even have to engage them, but we've at least given them that sounding board of, here's some different words, here's some different thoughts that you could try.
Okay, number three, limit time on social media. This one's so big, right? I'm like yelling it into the mic. But it's so easy to get stuck in that comparison trap when we're looking at social media and everything looks better on social media than it really is. And, people don't post their bad days, their bad moments. We post all the things where we're winning, where we're showing up so big, where everything looks perfect. And so it's really hard to not get in that comparison trap when we're always looking at social media. I am a huge believer in taking every so often a fast from social media and just taking a break and a reset, especially when we're in these moments. And parents, I know that is so hard to, encourage or enforce if you want to that fast with your kids, but it really is so important. I remember a time that one of my teenagers was really struggling and we took the phone away for a little bit. And the first few days were hell. I'm just going to say it right here on this podcast. They were awful. This child was going through withdrawals from not being on the phone, and it was just a struggle. But about day 4, it was crazy the difference in this child's behavior and their happiness. And talking to them later, and I actually heard them say to one of their friends, I think you need to take a break from your phone. I couldn't believe how much better I felt when I had a break. And we all need it sometimes, right? Like, I mean, to be honest, this morning I was thinking, I think I need to do a little social media fast myself. It's just time. And I think to check in with that when we're in that comparison mode, when our teens are, is a really good idea. Even though it's hard to enforce as a parent, sometimes it's what's needed most.
This this is something I feel so strongly because even as an adult, I struggle with this, and I've noticed that when I'm feeling that itch, that uncomfortable of, oh, I should be a better mom. I should be doing all these things, and I don't have this thing, and I want this, right? And that uncomfortableness, it usually comes because I've been on my phone too much. And what's amazing, and I want to be so loud and clear here. I am the biggest believer. I want us all to be millionaires. I want us all to drive, brand new Range Rovers. Like, I want us all to be in our dream home. Like, I am a big believer. Everybody, there's enough for everyone, right? But I do believe there is such danger to take, you know, the 1% of us that are millionaires, have all these things going, that are fitness influencers, right? Have what we might call the ideal body or the ideal situation, and then see that constantly and to see that 24/7. And our brain goes, huh, what's wrong with me that my life doesn't look like that, right? It's this unspoken question that when we scroll through social media that happens. And it's because we're looking at you know, the best, the top, maybe some very elite situations, right? And we don't even get the full picture. And we go, huh, what's wrong that I don't have that? Because that's what we're viewing and surrounding ourselves with. So we've got to be so careful and to take a step back and go, actually, I'm incredibly blessed. Actually, I have way more than so many other people, right? And is there ever a time that maybe I'm not being honest with myself in all the gifts and the privileges that I've been given because I'm so busy worrying about what's wrong with me that I don't have a brand new car or that my kids don't behave in this way or this way. So I'm a huge fan of taking breaks. I I actually think, the research is all starting to come out that it's not good for us to look and compare all day. And so that's something that we've got to figure out. And I wouldn't wait for the government or for larger agencies to figure that out for you, parents. If you feel like, hey, my teen's spending too much time on TikTok or Snapchat or Instagram, then you should act on that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that. Okay, number four, encourage someone else. And I think this one's so interesting because we're so used to comparing. But what if we just transfer that to encouragement and really cheer someone else on? The interesting thing is this creates and releases dopamine in our head, in our brain, in our body, which feels so good. And when we're in the comparison trap, we feel so much like crap. We just feel crappy. And so to change that, how we're feeling, that like self-loathing to celebrating somebody else, cheering someone else on, and really encouraging someone, it's crazy how it's just changing that program from comparison to encouraging and helping someone else feel great about themselves. Losing ourselves in service, losing ourselves in loving and caring about other people can change the comparison trap because it changes our focus.
Cherie, I was just thinking, so if I'm a mom and I'm going, okay, I can see my child is struggling with this, but I don't even know if they know that they're struggling with this. Like, where would you suggest that they start?
So, maybe think of a friend of theirs that might need some encouragement. Maybe their friend's playing in a basketball game, or maybe their friend has a big test, or maybe their friend is struggling with something and just needs to feel loved. And it isn't even that you as a parent have to say, okay, I can tell you're stuck in this comparison trap. We're going to do this. But really just say, hey, I've been noticing that your friend is struggling. Let's go do some. Do you want, like, I'll help you. Let's go do something nice for them. Or, hey, your friend has a basketball game. Do you want to go support them, encourage them on? It's just helping redirect them so their energy is focused on something about someone else who needs that love. That's what I would say. I think number five goes so well with number four of instead of encourage, well, if we want to encourage other people and cheer other people on, and with that, we need to do the same for ourselves. And I am a big, big, big believer in celebrating wins, celebrating where we show up for ourselves and where we are like doing things well. Um, I think it's important for teens because, again, the brain's going to focus on where they're falling short and where everyone else is succeeding to help them create a habit where they look every day and at what went well in their life and where they're winning and showing up. So here's something that a friend taught me that I think is so profoundly powerful is at the end of every day, maybe you do this at the dinner table, maybe you do this, I don't know if you have like a family prayer at night or what your family routine is, but where everyone just takes a minute and you go around and you're like, "Hey, where did you win today? How did you win the day? How did you show up big?" And so you're helping them think about that. Like, where did I win today? How did I win the day? How did I show up big for myself? What was a good experience I had? And then that helps them get out of the comparison trap. And again, you're not saying, "Oh, I can tell you've been comparing, oh my goodness, comparing yourself."
Word.
It's a new word. Comparing yourself to someone. It's, hey, you know what? I want you to think about how amazing you are, where you're winning, where you're showing up, where you're improving, where you're growing. And I think that's a really important thing to do. Or teach them to create a journal that's all about wins. Like, here's my journal of wins. Every time I do something amazing, or I show up big, or I change a pattern, or I do something I'm proud of myself, I'm going to write it in this journal. But we really want them to get in this habit of looking and focusing on where they're showing up big, where they're winning, where they're succeeding, where they're doing something that is adding so much value in the world. Instead of focusing on their lack, we're going to focus on their abundance and their goodness that they're offering everyone around them.
I think too that comparison and that envy that comes with it is actually a really good like internal thermostat because I don't get on this podcast and watch you write notes, Cheree, and go, wow, Cheree is just a way better pencil holder than I am, and I'm just not as good of a pencil holder as her, right? Because guess what? I don't care how I hold a pencil or how you hold a pencil, right? But I do compare to things that matter a lot to me. And so your teen might be comparing to the girl that got the lead in the play or the girl that they feel really always put up against in tryouts, right? And that should be an indicator to us and to them. Hey, theater matters a ton to them, right? And so, can I redirect this passion into learning and going, okay, self, I've been really comparing about this girl's hair in math, and she just has the most beautiful hair, and I don't, or whatever the narrative is, and go, okay, obviously, like looking nice and having nice hair really matters to me, and how awesome that I care about that. I think that's awesome. What can I learn? Can I go talk to my aunt who's a hairdresser and get ideas on how to style my hair cuter? Or can I get some ideas or sign up for a class and just kind of use that as an internal thermometer to go, huh, there's there's a little bit of an insecurity here, and that's okay because we're humans and every one of us has one. Like, can I meet that need for myself? Can I learn? Can I so engage myself in the process of learning that I don't compare, like that I'm taking a step away from comparison? And I think back to anytime we try something new, we know we're beginners, right? So we have this beginner's bias of, well, yeah, I'm not going to be as good as this person because I'm a beginner, right? So we don't worry about it. It's when we've put in some heart, some passion, and we feel tied to this that we go, oh, I should be better, or oh, I should. So helping us, your teen, myself, speaking to me here, like always be a learner can help take away some of that comparison as well.
Absolutely. I love that so much, being a learner. And I think, as you were talking, I was thinking about, yeah, using all these things as clues, using these things as that internal monitor or thermometer. So very important. Okay, well, guess what? Next episode, we're going to talk about protecting your teen's brain. It's going to be a great one. I hope you'll join us.
Thank you for listening to Let's Talk Teens with Cheree Murdock and Abbi Winslow. If you are looking for more tips to help your teenager, here's where you can find us. You can find Cheree Murdock on Instagram at Cheree Murdock Coaching or on her website, ChereeMurdock.com. You can find me, Abbi, on Instagram as Abbi Winslow or on my website, AbbiWinslow.com. Please rate and review our podcast and share with a fellow parent. Thanks for listening.